With the addition of the mercenary in Path of Exile 3.26, I wanted to jump on the bandwagon and make a minion build using a Doryani equipped mercenary. However, I couldn't decide which lightning-based minions to go with, so I just used them all. I have 4 Wretched Defilers, 4 Lightning Golems, and 3 Absolution Sentinels. I also threw in a Stone Golem and Carrion Golem for support. The core item for this build is Yoke of Suffering, which makes enemies take 10% increased damage per ailment you inflict. With that, we just hop around as fast as we can, spreading ailments along the way while the minions do all of the work and tries to keep up. The result isn't bad. In fact, I think this is one of the faster minion builds I've played. The biggest downside to this build is having to pause and cast Absolution to re-summon the Sentinels, but I think that is just a crutch that comes with playing Absolution. The build pros. Fast clear speed, and I'm able to traverse the map fairly quickly thanks to 2 movement skills. Leap Slam and Frost Blink both also serve as ways to spread ailments. Best of all, there's no need to cast Offering manually, thanks to the built-in automation from the Queen's Hunger armor. You can even have up to 2 offerings active at a time if you manage to find the right modifier. The build cons. Summoning Absolution Sentinel is a bit clunky during boss fights, and having to resummon them during map runs can be a bit annoying. However, most of the time the rest of the minions can handle mobs, so it's not really a big issue. Sometimes I get lazy and would forget to cast Absolution, but barely notice the difference in the clear speed. The build is also very socket demanding. I chose to remove the offering skill gem entirely and rely solely on Queen's Hunger for offering rotations. It's also not the tankiest build, so watching out for risky map modifiers is important. Now for the skill tree, it's pretty straightforward for a minion build. I took Golem Commander for the extra golem and buff boost, along with Enduring Bond, Spiritual Command, Sacrifice and Redemption for minion damage and survivability. Continue to the left of the skill tree, grab the Staff Masteries and block nodes to cap attack and spell block, then head south to pick up the 2 Endurance Charge nodes for some extra defense. I also picked up the Cluster Jewel socket on the left side for the Enduring Composure Cluster Jewel, which grants 1 endurance charge per second if you've been hit recently. As for the Ghastly Eye Jewel, it's your typical minion-focused setup. Additional maximum life, minion cast speed, added lightning damage, and increased minion damage if you've been hit recently. Pretty standard for minion build. I also used Primordial Eminence and Primordial Harmony to boost the golem's buffs and damage. For Ascendancy, I went with Elementalist for the extra golems and the automatic re-summon, which is nice. It also provides 3 elemental ailments, which contribute to the 30% increased damage taken from Yoke of Suffering. The Elementalist Shaper's node will also cause all your hit to inflict its corresponding ailment, so Leap Slam and Frost Blink will also inflict Ignite, Chill, and Shock on the enemies. Equipments. For the weapon, I went with the Cane of Kulamak, which provides a massive boost to minion damage and cast speed. We also inherit attack speed from the minion buff, allowing us to leap slam around the map much faster. This cane also has a modifier that grants +3 to support gems, so Empower will benefit greatly. For armor, I use Queen's Hunger for automatic offering rotations every 5 seconds. This method of casting offerings also affects the player, greatly boosting your speed and block. You also get Spirit Offering, though I'm not sure how much it helps the player. The armor can also roll +2 to socketed minion or duration gems, but that will cost quite a penny. I got this chest for around 20 divines. The normal 6 links version of Queen's Hunger goes for about 1 or 2 divines. The amulet is of course Yoke of Suffering, which makes enemies take 10% increased damage per ailment you inflict on them. For gloves, I use Algor Mortis. This causes enemies in your chilling areas to take 35% more lightning damage and gives you a 30% chance to sap enemies in those areas. Sap is considered an elemental ailment, and that'll grant you an additional 10% increased damage from Yoke of Suffering. For boots, I went with Legacy of Fury, which lets you scorch nearby enemies. Scorch is another type of ailment, and that'll brings our total increased damage from ailments to 50%. The boots also cause scorched dead enemies to deal 8% of their health per second as damage to surrounding enemies for up to 4 seconds. This greatly helps with clear speed. For the helmet, I choose anything with +2 to all minion skill gems plus life and resistances you need. You can also get one with a socketed gem supported by minion life, but that can be a bit expensive. For rings, use your typical life, resistance, and stats that you need. Try to find at least one with a socket. You can never have enough sockets with this build. For the belt, I use Darkness Enthroned and throw more ghastly jewels into it. With this setup, we get 50% increased damage taken from Yoke of Suffering, 35% increased damage taken from Algor Mortis, whatever increased damage comes from Shock, and elemental resistance reduction from Scorch. Next are the skill gems. For the 6 links weapon, I attached Lightning Golems of the Horde, Raise Spectre, Pierce, Awakened Minion Damage, Spell Echo, and Empower. Cane of Kulamak has a Pulse 3 to support Gems modifier, so Empower effectively provides Pulse 6 to any skill gems linked to it. It can reach Pulse 7, but Awakened Empower costs around 500 Divines, so I don't see myself getting it anytime soon. For the armor link gems, I use Absolution, Lightning Penetration, Physical to Lightning Support, Awakened Minion Damage, Spell Echo, and Awakened Added Lightning Damage Support. The rest of the gems are less important and are focused more on defense and quality of life. For the helmet, I use Carrion Golem, Stone Golem, Animate Guardian, and Meat Shield. For gloves, Leap Slam and Frost Blink for traversal and spreading ailments, Arctic Armor for extra defense in more chill areas, and faster attacks for quicker Leap Slam. For boots, I use Desecrate, Automation linked with Convocation and Steel Skin. For your socketed ring, Veil Haste. And finally, the big bad Mercenary. This guy is basically your Animate Guardian on crack. I use Fallen Reverend Mercenary with both Wrath and Zealotry auras. Equipment should include Doryani's prototype and 2 rings that give negative lightning resistance. For the amulet, Perkwill's Toe is great for lucky hits to nearby allies, which is always a plus, along with lightning-based damage. If you can afford it, Crown of the Tyrant is excellent. My current mercenary setup gives 120 lightning resistance to nearby enemies. The issue is you have to make sure they are close. Since the Reverend is a ranged mercenary, sometimes you have to go face first and call him over to get the Doryani effect to kick in. The only other mercenary with both Zealotry and Wrath is the Storming Zealot, who is also ranged, so we're stuck having to manually call him closer until a melee mercenary with those 2 auras comes along. Another option is to remove a socket for Zealotry aura and use a melee mercenary with Wrath aura, but that's up to you. Honestly, I think I could have done more with building the mercenary, but I haven't had the chance to look deep into customizing him. There's definitely a lot of DPS left on the table with this guy. If there's any recommendation, feel free to leave a comment below. Moving on to Animate Guardian, it's a fairly standard, cheap setup. Learcast, Victario's shield with a life on kill weapon, and Gravebind. I haven't had the chance to upgrade to Kingmaker and Crown of the Tyrant yet, but if you go for those items, they should boost your DPS significantly. Overall, I love this build. It lets me run maps fairly quickly while being lazy and cruising through. Sometimes I just run through the map without bothering to cast Absolution, and only use it when I need to nuke a boss or something tough and tanky. There's also a good amount of room for improvement. I always felt like this build leans toward Energy Shield and CI, but I was too deep into life and didn't want to re-roll everything. If anyone out there wants to test this with Energy Shield, let me know how it turns out. I'll link the POE in the description for anyone who's interested. This is my current setup and has a lot of room for improvement, although it'll cost you quite a penny to get all the maxed out items. Do note that Path of Building doesn't show the total DPS correctly. Spectres, Absolution, and Yoke of Suffering damage don't seem to show up properly, or at least I can't figure out how to make them display correctly. Also, Sap and Scorch appear to be missing from the ailment list, so take the total DPS with a grain of salt. In total, I think I spent around 50 divines for everything I'm currently using, with the most expensive item being the +2 minion gem on the Queen's Hunger armor piece. Anyway, that's the end of the video. What do you guys think of the build? Yay? Nay? Total hot pile of trash? Let me know down below, or if you have ideas on how to improve it. I am going to bed. Ta-ta!